Hey everybody, it is Lori Cooch. A couple days ago, or maybe a week or so ago, I asked in our Design Space group on Facebook what you guys wanted me to make a video about. And I got a few responses, and I'm going to incorporate them all mostly into this video, and I'm going to do other videos for the other requests. But this one's going to cover some of the basic features of Design Space. How to change a text, how to mirror, how to weld, and then just the basics of some of the features. So I've just logged in, and this is the first screen that I'm going to get. Excuse me, I'm trying to fight this cold that everybody has. I'm going to click on New Project. Come on. And this is just your cutting mat, your virtual mat that everybody should be seeing the same thing. So some basics here. We got to put something on the mat, and I'll show you the features over here. The layers tab over here. So if you ever ask me a question and I say, show me your layers tab, this is the one I'm going to need to see, because this is kind of like your headquarters, and it tells me what's going on with your project. So let's add a text, and we're just going to put Happy New Year. So it's always going to just default to the Cricut Sans font. So this is the Layers tab. You're going to see that this is kind of highlighted in gray, and that is because down here it's a binding box around my words. So that means it's selected. If I click off of it, then it turns white. So I can click on it again and move it up, because I like things up higher on my mat. So your Layers tab here, it also tells you this is set for a cut image and that the color is black. This eyeball allows you to hide it or unhide it. So I can click it and it puts the line through it, and I can no longer see it on my mat. So you click it again and it brings it back. So if you have it hidden and then you go to make it, it won't try to make it. It'll exclude it from what you're cutting if you had multiple items there. So if you wanted to change your font, because that was one of the questions, up here on your top ribbon, you're going to see things like edit, deselect, undo, blah, 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 blah. But here's your font. And it shows it's Cricut Sans. It's set at regular. It's a 72 inch size. I have mine set at inches. It's got 1.2 spacing between the letters. And if I had multiple lines, it would be 1.2 spacing up and down between each sentence. So you can change this to show bold fonts, or to be a bold font, italic, bold italic writing, you know, however you want it to be. I'm going to go back to regular. So then if you click down on the font drop down here, this is going to be all the fonts. So not only is it your Cricut fonts, it's your system fonts as well. And when you're looking at it at this drop down, you'll see some of them are in color. Some of them are in black or gray. The in color ones have a shadow layer. That's all they mean. They're just a shadow layer available with those. But you can even sort this even more. You can set it to just be your system fonts, which will be the fonts that are on your computer, ones that you've downloaded from different sites and installed, and and of course the ones that just come with your computer. Or you can change it to a Cricut font. So then these will only show the Cricut fonts. You can then search. So I'm going to go back to all. And if I go to search and I put in Waltograph, I use that one a lot, then this is the Waltograph font that I can choose from. So there's single layer cutting, and then there's a Waltograph UI that's also single layer cutting, which tells me there's no writing style for this font. I did it. It looked funny, but you know, whatever. So that's how you change your font. So if you just pick one of these, A Frightful Affair, it's going to change your font on your mat to A Frightful Affair. So not only does it show what it is up here, it also shows what it is over here. Now this one, because it was red on that drop down, had the shadow layer. The shadow layer comes in with it as well when you change it, but it's hidden. So you just click on it if you want to see it, and it's back there. You can separate them, because right now, if I move them around, they're all moved together, okay, by ungrouping. And so now I can separate them out and have two different items on my mat. They're still going to cut and fit together because I haven't changed any sizing. So the problem would be if I change this size, this didn't change, so it would not line up anymore. So I'm going to undo and make it equal, and then I'm going to undo and put them back together. And I'm going to, there's a couple things you can do. You can hit select all, and it will encompass it all, or I'm going to click off. And you can click up here and drag over, and it's going to encompass it all that way. All that does is a temporary grouping. It will allow me to move it as one. It will allow me to size it as one, but as soon as I click off of it and click back on it, it's separate again. So I'm going to undo and bring it back. But if I wanted it to be grouped again, select all, and up here hit group. So now even if I click off and come back onto it, it's going to stay together. I hope that made some sense. So now the one that's red just tells you the color. We can click on that and gives us our other color options. And then you can see here, this is your layer attributes tab. So you've got a cut option, a write option, a score option, or a print option. So if you go to write, it kind of makes it all one now. You can't really see that shadow layer. I mean, you can, but it's all black, so you can't. So we'll change it back to red. So that shadow layer is there, but the writing is just on the outside of it because this is not really a writing font. So it's going to be like your letters that you did in school where you would like bubble letters or whatever, just be on the outside. You can set it to score if you were using like a foil or something and you wanted it to basically emboss it on your paper. It would do that. I'm going to hide that shadow layer just so it's not confusing. So, and then see, now your color went away over here because it's a score. And if you set it to print, it's going to send it to your printer. It's going to then try to cut it out, each individual layer, after you send it to your printer. But we're going to come back to, I want to show you this too. So when you're set on print, you have two options, colors and patterns. So patterns are really pretty cool. It's kind of, well, I'll show you when it comes up. I have a lot of stuff on here. So this is a Halloween-y type font. It was called Frightful Affair. So if I set it for an orangey color, it's $1.49. It changes it. Let's make it bigger so you can see it. How it's got those different textures in there. It will print that just like that and then cut out each layer. Or here's a purple one. I swear my computer is slow. So those are kind of cool little fun options. There's all kinds of them in here, different patterns. There's a green one. Oh, can't really tell with that font. Plaid. So these are all things you can print out on your cardstock and then cut with your machine. But I'm going to go back to colors here. Oh, not white. Can't see white. We'll go back to black. And click back on cut. So these are your basic colors. Actually, I'm going to make it very berry. And then up here, you see where it says duplicate? I'm going to duplicate that. And I'm going to do another one. This is the one that's got the binding box by it. This is the one that's gray up here. And I'm going to do it a green. And I'm going to show you something. So if I go to make it right now, it's going to show me two mats. Two mats because my shadow layer is hidden. If I unhided it, oh, I can't even speak, sorry. It would show me three mats. But I'm going to hide that just because we're not using it. So if I click make it, it's going to show me two mats, a green mat and a red mat. Okay? But I look at it and I go, oh, I don't like this red color. And I don't remember which color I clicked on to make it this green color, and I want it exactly the same color. That's easy. Click over here on Color Sync, and these will show all the colors in your project. And you can just click that H and drag it up to the color you want it to be, and now they'll be exactly the same color. The example I like to give on that is when you import an image or you're using a Cricut image and it has like a leprechaun, say, 4 or 5 different shades of green, and you want it all to be one shade of green because you don't want to have 1,800 little pieces of different colors green cutting out. So you can make them all the same shade of green, and then it'll cut it out all on one mat. Another trick I'm going to show you, and this is where people get really, really confused. They don't know when to attach and when to weld. So these are both grouped. So this is all grouped together. See, I have the ungroup option. This one's all grouped together. I'm going to ungroup this one. So, ooh, it didn't ungroup. There you go. So now you look on the Layers tab and you have a different item for every single letter, okay? This is the one that's grouped. I'm going to move it out of the way. So if I moved these around and just kind of messed them up a little bit. To make it weird, just so you can see what I'm doing here. Come on. Can't move as A. I do not like Mac mouses. Just saying that right now. So when I go to cut this right now, it's not going to leave it like that. So if I go to make it now, the one that's grouped is all still grouped together because that's how we put it on the mat. We put it in as all one item, so Design Space thinks it is all one item. But we ungrouped this one, and that did not stay at all like we have it on the mat. So how do you fix that? Well, that's pretty easy. You can select all, and then down here at the bottom, you attach. So how I like to look at attach is, it's kind of an anchor. It just anchors everything together like that. It's always going to try and cut it up in the top left corner of the mat when you go to make it, but it's going to hold these pieces anchored together as they are. So now when we say make it, they're together how we have it on the mat. Does that make sense? So what's the difference then between attach and weld? Weld, you don't need to weld these letters together because they're not touching. Think of weld as an actual weld, like a permanent weld that you do in a machine shop. It puts them together and it holds them together permanently. Always remember that word, permanently. So I'm going to go and get an image, and I'm going to get a pumpkin. And I'm just going to grab a couple pumpkins here. Those will work. They're all lined up down here at the bottom. And they have the green box around them up here. So I've insert some images here, and I've got these 3 pumpkins. So if you wanted to make a banner on your page or a page border, so let's adjust these pumpkins to kind of be like that. Do you see the black line between each pumpkin? That's going to cut. So you're not really going to have a pretty strong border when you're going to be cutting out each little piece. And if I went to make it right now, I'm going to have a bunch of different mats for each individual pumpkin. So there's that pumpkin and that one, and then that one, and the face for that one. And it's not really giving us that one solid item feel there. Even if I attached those, we can attach them. I'll show you. It makes them all one color. That's great. But it's hard to see. There's still a black line right there, which means that's going to cut. So if we say make it, it's going to cut it out just like that. But you're going to have this pumpkin cutting, and then this one coming in and cutting a chunk out of it. So you're still going to have 3 separate pieces. So yeah, it attached them. It anchored them right there, but it didn't weld them. So to make them one solid piece, you're going to get those 3 items, okay, and you're going to weld. And I'm going to change the color so you can see there is no longer that black line right here. You see it? So your machine is going to come down, it's going to cut, and it's going to go up like this, and it's going to keep just going around the perimeter of the items, and it's not going to cut them separately. So now when I say make it, I have one mat for our pumpkins, and you can see it's going to be one piece. So that's great for borders, banners. If you want to attach your letters to make a title page and you want them all touched, you can weld those. Now, right now, I haven't saved my project, and I haven't done anything after I hit weld. I can undo. Well, I changed the color. So I can undo, and now you can look over here on your layers tab. They're all still separate pieces. I can move it. Well, it's attached, so let me detach that. I can move it away. But, so I'm going to do this again. I'm going to weld them. So now we're back to being one. As soon as I save my project, I can no longer unweld it. It's permanent. So remember that. Whenever you weld, it's permanent. I mean, yeah, I can undo, but if you're working on a page and you've been working on it for an hour, and the first thing you did was weld your pumpkins, and then you worked on your letters and different parts of your project, and then you decide you don't want your pumpkins welded, you have to undo all of your work. So just remember, weld is permanent. You cannot unweld. Once it's saved, it's done. You have to start over. So I hope that answered that basic question. I'm going to go ahead and get rid of this one. We're not using it, but there's a couple ways you can get rid of it. You can click this red X right here. That'll delete it. You can click up here and delete it, or you can right click and delete it. There's not only usually one way to do something. So I can get rid of this too. Click right here. And we have our pumpkins here. Now, those used to be 3 images, remember? Oh, we still have our shadow layer. We can get rid of that. Oops. But we welded them, so now there's one. There's no shadow layer. Okay. So I'm just going to grab a shape. Doesn't matter what shape, because it's not really important. You know what? We're gonna do it this way. Get rid of our pumpkins. We don't need them. Valentine's Day is coming, so we're gonna add a heart. Maybe. Come on. We're going to add that heart. I can click heart again to add another heart. And since I'm here, that's probably what I would do. If you click off, that's going to go away. Or you can click duplicate. Or you can right click, you can copy, and then so copy, right click, paste. Again, multiple ways to do things. So I'm going to make this heart a little bit bigger. And it's gray, so I know I'm using it with this one. And I'm going to make it this red color. Okay. Then I'm going to take this heart and I'll make it pink. And I'm going to set it right over the top. Now here's something. Whichever one is on the top over here is on the top over here. So if I clicked on the red one and I clicked on arrange and I said move to front, it's now in the front and it's on the top over here. Okay, you can't see the pink one because it's smaller, but I can see where it is, and then I'm going to now put it in the front. Okay, so I have these two images, and you can, let me back up. The slice feature, you can only slice if there's two layers. If there's a shadow layer, if you have a third layer, if you forget you have a shadow layer and it doesn't work, always look for your shadow layer over here on the layers tab first. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just put that binding box around those two, and the option down here to slice becomes available. So I'm going to click that. Now you're going to see I have a new image over here. Okay, so I'm going to take that away. That's my original heart. And now I have this heart, which is the same size as this one because we just cut it out. And we have this. Okay, so you can then make this one a little smaller. Actually, I'm going to make this one a little bigger. And I'm going to move this one to the front. And I'm going to sign it up. I'm going to select those. I'm going to slice out again. You have another heart here. So you can now go like this, go like this. Maybe throw this one here. And this one here. Move to front. And you can arrange them like that. Now, if I attach these, it's going to make them all one color because it's going to want to cut them all together. But you could go like this, change it up a little. So maybe take those two, the red ones. And another thing you can do is, let's see, this one is got the binding box by it. I'm going to hold my shift key down and select on that heart. So now it encompassed just those. So you could weld those. And then maybe throw this one in here. Put this one, I don't know, up here somewhere. Hold my shift key down, click again, and weld those. So they're going to cut as two separate images, but you can layer them on your project. Or if you don't want them as two separate images, you want them all as one. Select all, weld, and now it's all one piece. See, those black lines are gone. It's all one color. It's going to cut out on all one piece. So those are fun little tips you can do for making cards or how Valentine's projects. What else is there? Basics, different materials. We'll get into that one on another one. How to mirror. Okay, mirror is really easy, and you can do it a couple of different ways. And I'm going to add some text. Happy, and it always revert back to the last font you used. Valentine's Day. So, I'm going to move this up here. Not a great font for Valentine's Day. So, I'm going to click on fonts. Ooh, just pick one really quick. It really doesn't matter. That one. That one's pretty. Oh, and I don't know if you noticed. See how it says $4.99 right here? That means I don't own it. So if I want to use this font, I have to pay for it. I can design with it all day long. When I go to make it, it's going to tell me to pay for it. So I have my font here, and it's just like on any Word program. You can align it so that it's center justified. I can make the space between the letters smaller. Not between the letters, between the rows, so that it gets closer together. And I just click until it gets to where I want it to be. Okay. So, what else could we do here? Oh, you wanted to flip. That's what I'm doing. So if you're going to use this as an iron-on, you're going to want to mirror that image. So it's not going to be backwards on your, I want to hide that, backwards on your shirt. So the easiest way to do that is make it. The hearts, it really doesn't matter, but you could easily click mirror right here, and it's going to turn it on, it's going to flip it. And then you go to the second mat, and you're going to flip it. Excuse me. And that's how it's going to cut it backwards for you for your iron-on. Okay? If you were doing it on the inside of a shadow box or the inside of a window and you wanted it to see out, you would also want to mirror it there. Or, I'm going to cancel that. You can do it here with flip. Flip horizontal. So now it's mirrored there as well. Oh my gosh, I have such a tickle in my throat. So that's mirroring. Somebody asked me how to mirror. That's how you do that. And I think that covered all the questions that I had for this first video. I'm going to try and make a video at least once a week. So if you have any specific design space or project question, let me know. I'm happy to make a video for you. I have a couple more I've got to do. I was asked how to make shadow layers for titles. So I have to do that. And oh, I do have one other thing I wanted to do today. How to pick a card from Design Space and add print words to it. So let's get rid of this. We can go to projects. And you can go to up here, and I'm going to say cards. And, well, any of them's going to work. I like this little Santa. He's cute. So you just click on him. And he's hard to see because my thing fell below. You click on Customize. And yeah, I want to replace what's currently on my canvas. So we're not working with the envelope right now. So I'm going to just hide that envelope. And so it shows you this little dot to dot line right here is your score line, where it's going to use your scoring tool and it's going to make your fold. So of course it's kind of hard to add your text because where you're going to be wanting to add text is the back side of this piece right here. So in this case, what I would do is add another layer, another piece of cardstock. So I can look at this piece right here and it tells me, it's not telling me anything. So edit, no, okay, I clicked on it. So it's telling me it's 8.681 wide and 5.565 high. So I'm going to just add a shape, and it's going to be a square. And I'm going to just kind of line it up in here, and I'm going to unlock it. So that'll allow me to change the width without the height and the height without the width. I'm going to drag it over a little, and then I'm going to drag it down so that it fills that area, but not quite. Okay? And then I would probably change this to be white. And I'm not sure what you meant by print. Some people say print when they mean cut. So I'm going to just assume you actually meant print. So if that's the case, I'm going to just, I know that that's going to fit inside my fold once it opens. I'm going to add some text here. I'll just put Merry Christmas. And then I'm going to align it so it's centered. And that's not going to fit on there, so we're going to resize it. And you got to drag the right one. Silly girl. There. Okay, so assuming that you wanted to have your printer print Merry Christmas, I'm assuming you'd probably want to have a more message than that in there because why not? But for the sake of this video, this is what we're going to do. So I'm going to hold the Merry Christmas, and I'm going to hold my shift, and I'm going to get that white square. Okay? I'm going to flatten it. As soon as I flattened it, see what happened up here? This changed. Now I have a print icon, and there's a no color because you can't really change it. So this is all one piece right now. It's not really centered, so you might want to pay more attention to that. So if I say make it, the first thing that's going to come up is it's going to do the print and cut first. Okay? So if I continue, I need to have a piece of 8.5 by 11, or preferably white for this one cardstock, in my printer. And I hit continue, and it's going to open my printer box. And I'm going to say send to printer. I don't have this in my printer right now, so I'm not going to do it. So it defaults to print PDF. That's fine. Because this box around here is, that's really weird. Bleed. I don't know why it's saying print to PDF actually. There we go. Brother HL, that's my printer. I'm confused. Cold meds, sorry. So what it's going to do then is it's going to put this little box, and this is the read lines that your machine is going to read, and it's going to print out your white piece of cardstock, and it's going to print the Merry Christmas in there. Okay, I'm not going to do that because like I said, I don't have cardstock in my printer right now, and you couldn't really see it if it did print. So then you would then just take this piece that cuts out, and you would put it inside your card. That's what I would do, because for one, that's red, and it's hard to write on red. So this gives you a nice clean slate. So then, once that prints, then there's your piece of 8.5 by 11 cardstock on your mat. It's going to print out your piece that we just spoke about up here, and it's going to say Merry Christmas on it. Then it'll go to the next one. Done. Edit. And it's going to cut out your Santa, and it's going to put your score line here, and it's going to cut out the outside of the card, and then you just assemble the two together. So I hope that answered your question on how to add text to a pre-designed card. Challengers I'll come back to. Basics we went over. And different materials. Okay, so I hope that answered the questions that I had so far besides the ones I'm going to come back to. I have to do a little more thinking on those, on how to present it. Oops. So if you weren't already aware, when you make a purchase from Cricut.com, my code changed. It's now Lori Create, LORICREATE, and that will give you 10% off and free shipping. That was also can be used if you are a Cricut Access member, which you get 10%, and then you'll get my discount of 10%. And if you are a Cricut Circle member, there's another 10% in there. So be sure and use that. It's good for all supplies. It excludes machines and it excludes the Cricut Access subscription, but any of the supplies, that it will work on those. So thanks for watching. Kind of rambling a little bit. It's cold and I'm on cold meds, so I apologize for that. But I will have another video out later this week to address some of the other questions I've received, and I hope you guys have fun crafting, and please share your projects in the group. I love seeing what you guys are doing because you inspire me. Have a great night, guys. Talk to you all soon.